Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Disney Plus Wave 3, the Infinity Ultron Build-A-Figure. Here we have Moon Knight. This is the 7th figure in the wave. It does not include a Build-A-Figure piece, but this is one that is very exciting to have. The case actually says the street date was September 1st, so why it's taken so long to get this wave out is just been bonkers. Like, I thought this thing was going to come out like in July. I was way off. We still have the other wave that might be hitting this year. It's just all kinds of craziness, but finally we got it. I got mine from Entertainment Earth. I know a lot of people were asking and everything, but here we have it. And this one's special because this is the final wave to have the window boxes, the plastic. Last wave to have it, which is bittersweet, I guess, because I do love this packaging more than the plastic-free packaging. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me because I get all my figures like online and pre-order and stuff, so you know that doesn't really change anything. But it's nostalgic. Like, this packaging, it was slightly shaped slightly different, but when Infinite series, Marvel Legends Infinite series had started, they introduced this style of packaging, and that's when I really started getting into collecting. So it's sad to kind of see it go away, but I care about the figure, not the packaging. I don't give a shit about the box. But anyways, we have the Moon Knight logo there in the front. Moon Knight, we get the Moon Knight logo there. Side artwork of Moon Knight in his suit, his armor. The Egyptian armor, what did they call it? Khonshu's, what, traditional armor? I forget what it was. Anyway, the bio reads, clad in the ceremonial armor there. God damn it, if I would have just read it, right? Clad in the ceremonial armor of Khonshu's chosen warriors throughout the centuries, Marc Spector is Moon Knight, sworn to obey Khonshu and deliver his vengeance accordingly. Pretty awesome. I really like the show. The ending fell a little flat, but overall I really did enjoy the show. Here we have the Infinity Ultron Build-A-Figure, which from what I see is super undersized. Like, I didn't notice it at Comic-Con, but when you have them next to other figures and stuff, it's like, geez, what did they do? So that kind of sucks, but I'm really looking forward to this entire wave. This is my most anticipated wave of the year, even though Mr. Knight and then the Sharon Carter, I don't really care for those figures. I don't think Sharon Carter was all that necessary. I mean, it's cool because I guess she was kind of the villain in the show. Mr. Knight, just because they didn't really execute it real well. But enough of that. Let's get Moon Knight out of the box. Okay, so here is Moon Knight out of the package, and he's a pretty good one, but there are some weird things in here, like the bicep swivel, like the shape of the arm and how they did the bicep swivel. It's just ugly looking. Usually the bicep portions might come up on the ends to kind of wrap around and it makes sense, but here it's just a really ugly cut, and it's going to be, I think, because of this gold armor piece that's in the suit. It still sucks when you do it, but overall the figure looks pretty good. The cape kind of is a little heavy for the figure, but the good thing is they gave him large feet to really get him to balance instead of falling over, which normally I think a lot of the MCU figures get smaller feet, and it's a problem in terms of balancing and getting him to stand, but no issues with Moon Knight, so that is really good. He comes with 2 Moonarangs, and these are just molded in a gold plastic color. There's a little bit of detail in there. Let's get in for a closer look. Get some molded detail in there, and that's pretty good. I don't know if those are hieroglyphics, but it's pretty small. Like, I can see it better through my camera, but even then I can't really make out anything that's in there. But this is what the inside looks like. And at first I was thinking, well, that's kind of ugly inside look. Like, why would it look like that? Then I'm like, it looks like it pegs together. So, and I haven't actually done this yet because I don't know how difficult it's going to be to pull apart. But ta-da! Look at that. It actually combines into one gigantic thick Moonerang, which I don't know. I mean, I guess in the show, right, he was able to just kind of see. Now I can't pull them apart. How do I get them apart? This is why I didn't do it ahead of time, because now I'm like, oh, I can't do it when all I gotta do is get a fingernail in between. So in the show, he actually, like, seems to just magically pull one out from another. I guess maybe that's why they kind of went for that theme where you could just, put it together and easily look. Ta-da! He's actually got 2. I'm guessing that's the reason why. And then he also comes with fists. So these are newly molded fists specifically for Moon Knight, because you could kind of see that wrap around. And that's pretty good. Out of the package, he just has these open hands. Those are to grip the Moonerangs. They're almost like trigger finger hands, as you could see, but he doesn't use any guns in the show, at least. I guess as... did he use any guns at any point? Oh, I can't remember if he did, but he's a mercenary, so you know, Marc Spector uses guns. But let's get in for a closer look at the figure now. Okay, up close look at Moon Knight. This looks pretty awesome. We don't really get a whole lot of that glow effect for his eyes. I think the Mr. Knight figure, you could see a lot more blue around his eyes to kind of show that glow effect. I mean, the eyes are white, but it's like should be that bright white. There's a tiny bit of blue kind of around in there, but you can't see it too much, but I think it looks pretty good. Now, I'd have to go back and take a look at some of the close-ups of like the Moon Knight mask. I think there was some things about like there's no wrap that goes across the front of his face. I think that was called out when it was the first in-hand looks at these figures. So shout out to the Figure Report, Mikey, who was in the show, Oscar Isaac's brother, Michael Hernandez. I just watched an episode of FBI International. He was on there, so that was pretty cool. But shout out to the Figure Report. I'll have a link in the video description below to his Instagram. You know, he was part of the show, so he got to actually do the first in-hand reveals of Moon Knight and Mr. Knight, and he did a fantastic job reviewing those figures. That you guys could check out that video. You don't really even need to watch this, but I just want to share my excitement with this figure to actually have it. I'm really excited. It comes 2 per case, so when this wave finally hits stores, how difficult it will be, I don't know. I think it's definitely going to be one of the most wanted from the wave. Like, I got my second one. I actually gave it to my daughter. She really loved the show. But yeah, just really cool. Looking at all the sculpted detail of all like the mummy wrap look throughout the entirety of it. You have like this armor plate here. Nice silver color in there with a little bit of gold kind of throughout, because it looks like, you know, there's that gold armor piece there, and then it's kind of wrapped around to be with the suit. Look at that moon there. Just looks really good. All these hieroglyphics and everything. That's actually part of the mold and not just like printed on there or anything. That's like sculpted into the plastic, so which is really cool. You get these little moons on his knees. We're all pinless, so pinless elbows with a little moon there too. Pinless elbows, pinless knees. Yeah, it looks really good. And you could see a couple of different colors in here. So it's not all just this like super light gray to whitish color. You get some light grays painted in there. And then like these boots are kind of a more off-white eggshell type of thing. And then of course the gray actually within the hieroglyphics. You can see the cape pegs into the back. You could remove the cape if you wanted to. I'll show you guys that here shortly. But just looking at the back of the figure. But yeah, there is the Moon Knight figure. So let's zoom on out and we'll take the cape off and check out his articulation. It's probably going to look ugly as hell, but you can see the cape is actually a separate piece from the hood portion of the figure. So you could remove that off. And you can pop the head on there, and you can have your Moon Knight. See, that gives like a full-on mummy look to me, you know, when you don't have the cape on there. But it actually looks pretty good, not bad. But we're gonna pop that on there because he should have the cape, as he always wears the cape. And then we should get that to port into the back of the figure to really hold the cape in place. And now we shall check out his articulation. So you saw it was on the dumbbell joint, so you're going to get some decent pivot. Well, you should get some decent pivot. The problem is the hood portion is going to hit the cape, and it's just not going to give us that pivot that we really want. Full rotation, though, looking up is going to be really bad. It just can't do it because of the dumbbell joint, and then on top of that, the added space taken up by the cape, you just can't get it to hinge up. So looking down, somewhat, at least we get that. The shoulder, you can get the shoulder to go straight on out, as you can see there. I would be careful when doing that though, because it seems like these biceps are on pretty loose when it comes to the shoulder. Like it gets all wonky, and I don't know if that's just because of the shape of it. So, you know, be careful with that. The shoulder, you can do a full rotation, of course. Upper bicep swivel, but again, it's an ugly bicep. I mean, look at how that cut is just so bad. I hate when they do that. And then pinless elbow, so you get double jointed pinless elbow. You get, let's see, that much bend there at the elbow, so that is nice and natural looking. Wrist swivel. Here, the open hands, we have the vertical hinge for the moonarangs. So that is great that we get the right wrist articulation for those. The fists have the standard horizontal hinge on them, though. Fists have the standard one. We have a diaphragm cut here, so it's kind of limited. Not a crazy amount, but it's also not great. I mean, the diaphragm joints don't typically turn out great. So we could pivot to his left that much. He could pivot to his right that much. And I like how the cape is really getting to see kind of that movement there. There is the swivel at the diaphragm cut. There's no waist swivel, and they could have done a ball joint here. I know it would have been nice to get it, but we just don't have it. And I'm like, is there a little bit of a swivel? But it definitely doesn't swivel or anything like that. Here's the thing. Going back is going to be a problem. It's not a whole lot, and then the cape really gets in the way. And then coming forward, you have this flap here. It's done in a soft enough plastic where it'll kind of move with the body, but it's just not very much movement. So that is pretty limited. It's difficult because why they're not giving the range of motion that they could is pretty crazy. And then when I move this back, you can see that waist start to come up. So there's really no reason why they couldn't either do a ball joint there or a waist swivel there. So that's just missed opportunity, drop the ball, or maybe it was planned and sculpted that way, but they couldn't fit the budgeting for it. You know, who knows? But either way, you know, it kind of sucks. Legs go out that far apart, which is not bad. Can't kick forward that much. This skirt piece is a fairly soft enough rubber that you can kind of get that leg up and it kind of bends it out. So that works, doesn't get in the way too much. You can kick the leg forward that much. It actually stays, so that's pretty good. Leg doesn't really go back. You have an upper thigh cut in there. A solid double jointed knee, which gives us a nice bend there, as you can see. But we do not have a boot swivel or calf swivel of any kind. Foot hinges all the way down, hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. And again, these are some gigantic ass feet by MCU standards, but you know, when you have the added weight of a cape behind a figure, it's nice to have something that's sturdy and not fall over. And that's always been like my worry when it comes to like feet size. Like Bucky Cap has tiny ass feet and it's a problem sometimes getting him to stand, but Moon Knight, no real issue there, so that's great. Okay, so we've had a couple of comic Moon Knight figures. We have the armored Moon Knight figure that was in the Spider-Man Homecoming wave, and then we have the Walgreens exclusive Moon Knight, which at some point just became ridiculously difficult to find. And I know a lot of the Walgreens figures at a time, distribution was terrible. They wouldn't show up or anything. I feel like they haven't fixed the distribution because it's shit. Half the Walgreens cut out action figures completely, and then the other ones just won't like ever receive anything. So I know it's a problem, but they've had a lot of the new exclusives, you know, become available online and stuff like that. And hopefully, you know, it becomes easier and easier. Hasbro they have the PR company even sends out emails when they go back online or become in stock again. So the communication, they're trying to really get it out there for the Walgreens exclusives, and that's great. But it sucks for those older figures where people really wanted them. I feel like if they really wanted them at the time, it would have been better, but it's, you know, sometimes it's after the fact, or, you know, new collectors coming in, or, hey, there's a Disney Plus TV series. Hey, the Moon Knight character is actually pretty cool. I'd love to get a comic figure. Oh shit, I can't because they're not available anywhere. So situations kind of all suck and things like that. And then fun fact, the figure in the show was actually like a custom made Moon Knight figure based off of this one, where they had to change some stuff. They gave it a cloth cape and things like that, and that was all pretty interesting. But as you can see here, none of the Moon Knight, the MCU version, doesn't necessarily take the inspiration from either of these ones. In some ways, you know, I think the character points are always going to be there, right? The hood, the cape. But this version actually was kind of more inspired by, I think it was the Earth X Moon Knight version. But, you know, I really like the design. You know, at first when I saw it, I was like, I don't think I'm really feeling it. But then, you know, watching it in the series, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I can get behind it. It's cool. There was one wonky ass scene where it shows him, you know, suiting up. I think it was in one of the later episodes where the CGI was really bad. But I think overall in the show, you know, the suit did look pretty good. Okay, so while I don't think this is going to be my favorite figure in the wave, it's definitely an awesome one, and one that I think, again, a lot of people are really going to want to get their hands on. With it being the double, I think that was the right choice, but will it be difficult to find in stores? Hopefully not, if it's something that you want to get, or hopefully you have pre-orders in to be able to get it. But I'm really happy with it. You guys let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on it. If you guys are interested in becoming a channel member, hit that join button to be part of the MCU collective. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.